everybody, my name is Kim and welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. I'm here to give you a quick review / ranty review of the book Eat, Pray, Love. Now, if you don't know Eat, Pray, Love, this is a memoir by Elizabeth Gilbert, her first, and I actually have the 10th anniversary edition of this book. So this book came out 2010s? Early 2000s. Not the 2010s, the 2000s. It's really weird because now we're finally so far into 2020 we have to designate that there are the 2000s and then the 2010s. So this book officially was published. Oh goodness gracious. I hate, by the way, when books just have 2 pages of just quotes and rave reviews from publishers. I don't care. This came out in 2006 and then was republished in 2016, I guess, for this cover. I think if you don't know that, do you know those posters that are love, smile, joy, or it's eat, pray, slay, or coffee, grind, da-da-da, the cantation of 3, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. It's all because Eat, Pray, Love. So now, some context. What is this whole book about? Elizabeth Gilbert, I'll read the back for you, honestly. In her early 30s, Elizabeth Gilbert had everything a modern American woman was supposed to want. Husband, country home, successful career, but instead of feeling happy and fulfilled, she was consumed by panic and confusion. This wise and rapturous book is the story of how she left behind all these outward marks of success and set out to explore 3 different aspects of her nature against the backdrop of 3 different cultures: pleasure in Italy, devotion in India, and on the Indonesian island of Bali, a balance between worldly enjoyment and divine transcendence. For more than a decade, Eat, Pray, Love has touched the world and changed countless lives, inspiring and empowering billions of readers in their search for their own best selves. All right, look, I'm 31. Elizabeth Gilbert's 34 in this, when this book starts. I gotta say I wasn't impressed. It's hard because she's a real person, so I don't want to bash on a human's life choices and you can all make mistakes. I'm in a lawsuit because people won't leave the house I bought. You know what I mean? Life happens, shit happens. But there was just something about Elizabeth, or Liz, I couldn't, this book was hard to actually finish. First off, I appreciated the front of the book, though. On the 10-year anniversary, she reflects on her life in this book and its success. And Elizabeth Gilbert admits, I have to admit that Eat, Pray, Love is bigger than me. Yeah, no duh, we've all commodified it and made tons of money. I also should acknowledge my privilege. She sold a book deal on this concept, and that's how she could afford to go abroad for a year. I'm 31. Do you think I have money for a year-long trip? Also, it's a totally different time period. How many of us millennials, and I'm saying that not in in an age gap way, how many of us millennials still have student loans and can't move out because the gens above us have basically dicked us over? So yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert, I wish you hadn't just given me a paragraph acknowledging your privilege. Maybe you should have taken 5 pages. So that already set me in a foul mood. I appreciate her acknowledgement of her privilege in this preface, but it just didn't set a good tone for me. So my favorite part of the book was the first part in Italy, because I recognize and identify when she's grieving, she's going through a divorce, and then she falls in love very quickly right after with a boyfriend and moves in with him, and it's very destructive. So she goes to Italy and she's lost a ton of weight through this grieving process, her pains. And in Italy, she learns to love food again and very much enjoy food again. I genuinely respect that section because I think, as anyone would know, or any woman would know, everyone picks apart what we eat. Every bite, every crumb. I'm an athlete. I am a power lifter and a ballroom dancer, and I have had a nutrition coach for 2 years, and I was tracking every carbohydrate, every fat, every protein. And it got to the point for me where food wasn't fun anymore. It was fuel for my body, and I thought I was okay saying that until I would go out to eat with Dan and like just go on a date once a week. I'm not even talking McDonald's. We went to a nice, beautiful restaurant, and I'm great in the moment, and then I get home and I beat myself up for everything I eat. So part of me really relates to this section of the book because she goes to Naples and eats pizza. Like, where else would you enjoy the best pizza? And she has a friend, Sophie, that she meets there, and like they talk about this, and I appreciate this because I read so much food writing because I think sometimes it's escapism. I can't eat all this food, or I've been told I can't eat all this food, so I gotta read about it because I can't eat foie gras butter on bread. You know, I would love to be Elizabeth Gilbert and go to Italy. And even if I gained 40 pounds she gained 30 pounds in like 3 or 4 months, but she had needed to gain weight. She was like underweight. I would love to go and have that guilt-free experience. I think any woman would, which is why the book is popular, why the book sold so many copies, because there's a level of escapism and relatability that a lot of us at home want to flip our tables, especially in COVID and the pandemic, and just say, screw it, I'm so burnt out, I need time. But you have to remember, she sold a book deal to pay for it. Sorry, it's just so frustrating. So the Italy section, I wish was the whole book. She's learning Italian while she's there. She's teaching someone English. She's building these relationships. They have an American Thanksgiving while in Italy, and it's funny. I wish this was the whole book. This is the only time I found her emotional journey as a character inspiring or relatable. When she gets to India, I acknowledge, I was raised Roman Catholic, I am agnostic. It's easy to be agnostic when your mom's Roman Catholic and your dad's Muslim, so to me, if you want to be spiritual, I have no problem with it, as long as your religion or spirituality does not bring harm to others. Believe what you want. But there was something about Elizabeth Gilbert and her obsession of Hinduism and going there that just felt... Let me cherry pick something I like about another culture and adapt it for myself. I don't know how else to explain it. As a reader, it was not engaging to read about her struggles for enlightenment. Now, I loved her friend that she met from Texas in this book. Like, I like the people she met on her journey, but I actually didn't like Elizabeth Gilbert. Like, I didn't like her. I don't know what else to say. I just didn't like her. She didn't feel like she had a lot of empathy, despite everything she'd gone through in her life, and that was really confusing for me. By the time we're halfway through the India portion, which I would say makes up the second third... I love how my Discord's going off. Okay, so... Sorry, now that my Discord's turned off, it means I'm late to D&D, and hopefully they can... they'll all screw around and catch up for a couple minutes on the Discord so I can finish filming. By the time we were halfway through the India section of this book, I had to think and tell myself Elizabeth Gilbert was a character and this was a work of fiction because I disliked her so much. When she gets to Bali, I think there's her desperate need for spirituality, which was getting on the control, borderline obsessive, calms and mellows a little bit. I think it is admirable that she raised money to help the local healer that she meets there to build a house. It reminds you again how crazy it is that $17,000 US builds an entire home for someone in Bali. Let's capitalism aside, it felt really icky. It felt really icky. And maybe this book, it was published in 2006. It was a very different time back then, which I know is crazy to think, but it is. It's 2021. A lot of time has passed. But I didn't like this book. I finished it. I finished it because my friends told me they wanted me to rant. Here I am ranting. And they wanted to see if I would watch the movie. So I did watch Eat, Pray, Love, the movie starring Julia Roberts. First off, I love Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts is great. Julia Roberts seems like such a kind person and a person who keeps to herself but does good in the world. And she actually does practice meditation and Hinduism. And it really fit. And a tall, blonde, beautiful woman. First issue with this is that Julia Roberts was 41 for a character meant to be 34. Now, I know, mostly in Hollywood standards, you usually pick a young actress and age her up. It's actually really nice that they aged her down, like that she could still get these younger roles. But I don't want to talk about ageism in Hollywood right now. Julia Roberts is too much of a beautiful, composed human being to play the shitstorm of this character that I didn't like. And the movie, I get it, guys. It's a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. I get that you cut things, but they added scenes and cut things that were very pivotal. In the movie, she has a breakdown. They get divorced. And she meets the guy after, David, Adam, played by James Franco. They add memories to the husband and wife. And in the movie, her husband just seems like a nice, normal guy. And that she just implodes. It feels inauthentic to the experience that Elizabeth Gilbert writes about. And James Franco as David, or David? I think it was David. I'm going to call him David for the rest of the video. James Franco is like 25 in this movie. Real age as a human. He's 25, and a 41-year-old is playing a 34-year-old. And again, I know I sound ageist, but on camera, James Franco looks like her son, because James Franco also reads really young on camera. So I am going to rephrase my issue with this and say I had an issue with casting. It didn't work. Now, Julia Roberts and Javier Bardem at the end of the movie, because Javier Bardem plays Felipe, who is the love interest for that section of the book, spoiler, not really, their chemistry was wonderful, because they actually looked like they were the same damn age. So casting was an issue. Second, you have the first half hour to set up your inciting incident that's going to propel her to go on this trip. And you meet her editor and etc. Nowhere do they mention that she got an advance. They're walking down the street and she's like, well, maybe I could write a book about a girl going to Italy and learning Italian. And that's it. They never talk about the fact that the money was what got her there, or the fact that she lost all of her money in the divorce just so her husband would divorce her, and that she moved in with a friend. Like, in that moment, they have a scene where she's clearly living with her editor and friend, and they're like, we love having you. In the book, it's a much, much darker time. A much darker time. Like, this is a mental health journey as much as it's a spiritual journey, and in the movie, it just kind of felt like Julia Roberts goes on a trip and learns to love herself. And it glossed over the depth that, I'll give credit to the book, that the book has a depth that the movie doesn't have. And it's 2 hours long. And again, the first hour, we're in Italy. We could have ended with Italy. Again, we could have ended with Italy. The part in India also upset me. Because one, they add a scene. They add a whole subplot that didn't need to be there, where she meets a young woman who's also in the temples, and part of their jobs are to scrub floors. And it's a 17-year-old girl who's getting put into an arranged marriage. And they even go to her wedding. And at one point, Julia Roberts, aka Liz, is like, I'm going to pray, and all of my chanting and praying will be for her, because I wish her happiness. And then Julia Roberts goes to the 17-year-old girl's wedding, and she looks at her, and like they have the conversation about how I've been praying for you. She's like, well, what does my happiness look like in the future? And Julia Roberts looks down and goes, I think you and, we'll call him Rahul, but I shouldn't even pretend. I don't remember his name. It's a one-off character. He had no lines in the movie, the husband. And the little, like this, I'm going to call her a little girl because she's 17. She's like, thank you, Liz. Thank you for praying for me. Why did we have to watch this wedding? What did the wedding bring to this story? If anything, it just made Liz like depressed as a character in plot development. But the whole point of her emotional journey, or the catalyst to Elizabeth Gilbert's journey, was the fact that she had a failed marriage and then quickly after fell in love and had a failed relationship. So what does it mean to watch a 17-year-old get married in an arranged marriage, and for Elizabeth Gilbert to wish that girl happiness in a marriage? A patriarchal convention that she just fought her way out of to the point where she lost her house and all of her money. It just felt like the biggest contradiction and slap in the face. It just felt really wrong, and I don't know what else to say other than, eh. And I was wondering how they were going to capture this, but at one point Elizabeth finds enlightenment through her meditation, yeah. Well, how are you going to describe, in the book, you get a good description of it. Well, how are you going to put it in the movie? An elephant. They throw in this plot device that an elephant has escaped from the circus and it's running amok, but be careful, it's dangerous. 30 minutes later, she's meditating in a garden. The elephant walks right up to her and goes, "Hey, I'm an elephant." And she pets him and it's great and she finds enlightenment. And then the final part of the movie, part 3 of the book, she goes to Bali. I am not saying that the love interest with Felipe, aka Javier Bardem, who is a beautiful human, they expanded upon it too much. They introduce his son into this. They give a plot line with the son coming to visit. And what I liked about Philippe in the book was that Philippe worshipped her and let her be her own person. In this movie, Javier Bardem comes off clingy. He's like, he very early on is like, I am in love with you. That's not how their courtship really worked in the book and in real life. And he cries a lot, nothing wrong with a man crying, but like it was more about his emotional journey, being vulnerable and wanting to be with her. And their misunderstanding is her being like, I'm not ready to be in love. Not the reason I'm on this trip. And there's like, I need you to come with me on this boat. If you don't come with me on the boat, are you ready to love me? Why can't you say it? Like the ending of the movie is her deciding to stay with Philippe. And it's like, so the first hour of this book is this emotional journey that's very convenient, full of plot holes. And then the last third of the movie is a rom-com shoved together, and then the whole movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it just, like, I had the movie on in the background kind of a thing. It didn't engage me. I don't think Elizabeth Gilbert / the movie Elizabeth Gilbert did not go through enough of a character journey. Now, I think I've mentioned it once or twice on my channel. I used to work in film and television. I read on average 50 scripts a year. I am still a reader for the Nantucket Film Festival. So I'd like to think I have a little authority when I point out these plot holes, or the fact that the pacing felt terrible, or that we had meandering plot line, or an unlikable protagonist. Like, there was just so many issues with this movie. Just like there's so many issues with this book. And again, how old was I in 2006? I hadn't even graduated high school yet. I was at a very different time in my life. And I get that everyone's journey is different, but when I was 30, like, I'm 31 now, and I've lost my dad, I've had a venue steal my wedding money, I've bought a house that I'm now suing the sellers to get out of. Like, life sucks. But I feel like I'm a little more mature than Elizabeth Gilbert at 34. I'll end on a positive. Julia Roberts is beautiful on camera. There are moments where the cinematographer just has her stand or sit, and she's looking away, and you get these moments of quiet. And I think the quiet is very important. Mise en scène, elements of a film, there's sound, there's colors, there's clothing, etc. Moments of silence are very overlooked in film and not utilized enough. They can be very impactful. And I found those moments impactful. What was not impactful was when Julia Roberts had to give voiceover throughout the movie. Like, oh, here are my thoughts. Here are the thoughts in my head. They happened sporadically, and they felt like they were only there to move the plot point along because there wasn't enough storytelling in that script to show you the journey. Instead, the voiceover had to tell you the journey. And that pissed me off. That is lazy screenwriting. And I think that's part of the struggle and the weakness of translating a book, a memoir, from a first-person point of view, where there is so much of that expository internal monologue. It doesn't translate well on film. So both of these sucked for me. I finished it. I'm going to donate it. I feel really bad because one of my friends got this for me as a bachelorette gift. I loved it as a gift. I asked for it. Thank you for giving it to me. I was just disappointed. My camera's overheating. I'm overheating. It was like 45 yesterday. Now it's 70 in Chicago. Where do I live? I'm still in Chicago, sorry. I'll edit this up. Thank you for watching Bookmarks and Breadsticks. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. You still have till May 7th to enter my giveaway to win one of the Persian Read It and Eat boxes. I'm currently only 12 subscribers away to 500. Can you help me get there? I'll see you in the next one. Bye.